90.7 WNCU, member-supported radio. Good afternoon. You are listening to the Jazz Stage, and a special program for you this afternoon is WNCU Cares Artist Series. And today's guest is Chris Keller. She's a piano teacher, educator, pianist, performer, vocalist, and she is a local musician, and I'm excited to highlight her today. Part of the Aurora Jazz group and specializing in playing in concerts for peace. So I really want to talk about that a little bit down in the set. So we're going to get started. I just want to go ahead and, set the stage, but it's all about you today. How are you?
Fine, and you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that.
Thanks for agreeing to be a part of this experience. I know we've seen each other on Facebook. That's like the social media is the fans of the day. Not the fans, but gathering friends and people that you see along the way. But we've never performed together. But it's nice to have you in front of me today so I can, pick your brain about how you approach this jazz. And before we get into that, I just want to let our listeners know that you were just listening to Chris Keller on keys, digging into the changes on the song Stuff Like That. Yeah. And that you also heard alto saxophonist Steve Swan, of course Chris Keller on piano, White Williams, he was not on that one because he's on tenor sax, but we'll get to him a little bit later. Wit. Yeah. Thank you. Donnie West on bass and Ricky Loza on drums and percussion. And that was created, what year was that created? That was in...
I think 98.
98, yeah, just a few years after the inception of WNCU 90.7. Cool. So you've been playing jazz for some time now. Since, where did it begin?
Well, I think that from hearing jazz records when I was real tiny, my mom was a huge fan of jazz, and she always had records on of like Duke Ellington, Ella Fitzgerald, Oscar Peterson, Dave Brubeck, Thelonious Monk. And I remember hearing this music from the cradle, that was my lullabies. And I think that it influenced me very, very early because the beauty of this music and the feeling of it, and it made such a deep, deep impression.
Agreed.
And we had a piano in the house. I was lucky to, grow up in a house that had a keyboard.
So lucky, yes.
Yeah. And I can't remember not playing it. Mom says I crawled out of the crib and just went. And then when I was about 3 years old, my dad died.
Okay.
And his death, I didn't know to call it this at the time, but music to me was prayer, was a way of keeping in touch with my dad's spirit. And so I spent more and more time at the piano, and Mom remarried a couple of years later, and at age 5, she started me with lessons, but that was like classical training. Mainly. Okay. But another great art form. Yes. And I just love, music is such a medicine, just in all the arts really are. Yeah. But music reaches such a deep place, where words can't often reach.
Very much so, and it seems like you bring that out in your music.
Well, thank you. That's what I aim to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems like your call is for peace through the music.
Yes.
And so that's your intention when you're playing, when you're learning these solos, or when you're learning, it's a time for the concert, whenever that exists again in the world. That's your intention, that's your motive.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Well, and I remember telling my mom at age 5, I said, Mom, I know what I want to do with my life. I want to be a musician and compose music.
What was her reaction?
And she said, well, that's not easy, Okay. And I said, I don't care. That's all I want to do. Good.
So many people are so distracted and swayed that they lose sight of their true gift and their calling.
Well, for me, it was always, music was just a language. It was it's a voice, a way of expressing love to the world.
Well, let's hear some more of your voice. The next song I'd love to hear is Feeling Good. This is Tim Smith.
Well, speaking of voice, this is Tim Smith.
Ooh, yes.
Saxophonist, vocalist, flautist.
Okay, let's get ready for some Tim Smith and Chris Keller, which is In the Seat, WNCU Cares Artist Series seat. Local musicians in the area. I hope you're listening and tuning in and sharing with your people that are listening as well. So we're going to get back to the music. Here's Chris Keller, Tim Smith on Feeling Good.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Reeds drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom in the tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Dragonfly out in the sun, you know what I mean, don't you know? Butterflies all having fun, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when day is done, that's what I mean. And this old world is a new world, and a gold world for me. Stars when you shine, you know how I feel. Scent of the pine, you know how I feel. Oh, freedom is mine, and I know how I feel it. It's a new day, it's a new day, it's a new life. And I'm feeling good.
Sweet chord at the end, Feeling Good in 90.7 WNCU. WNCU Cares Artist Series with Chris Keller. Wow, that sounded really good.
Thank you, thank you.
Tim put his soul into that song.
You
man,
did
too.
We had such a great time doing that album together.
Is there any particular reason why you chose Feeling Good?
Oh, it's such a great song. It's from a musical of Anthony Newley and Berceuse. And just the blues element of that. I think that's like that's the medicine that's in the music.
Oh yeah,
the blues. And it's just it's interesting. As when I was studying classical piano, I was always drawn to the early 20th century. things like Ravel and Bartok and Prokofiev. And in the Prokofiev sonata that I played, I found an altered blues voicing.
Oh, okay.
Exact
Theory class.
same altered blues voicing.
Wow. So who
and
created
I love
it
that
first?
Sound.
Well, I know that you've recorded some classical music, so we'll hear that soon. I wonder who created that chord progression first. Was it Ravel, or was it taken from inspiration?
No, it's taken from blues, from the black culture, and it's what I heard when I was little, when I heard the jazz records that my mom was playing.
So the blues is what kind of pulled you in.
Yeah, and it's interesting that blues, interesting to find it like those exact same sounds in other cultures too, like in Russia, because there's got to be a tie-in. It's like speaks to the universal human condition. And so all over the planet, that sound has a very deep impact on people, no matter what their culture.
Yes, the blues. So is it intonation? Not intonation, but intervals, modes. That science of music that keeps people wanting more, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. So that was a duo on that was actually Feeling Good. Normally we hear Nina Simone and just that big orchestration on that song, but this was nice, mellow, and more of like the focus on the lyrical content. I mean, it's perfect for now in today's world. Wow. So what other, I know that there's another song, Did You, Tim Smith original.
Yes. Now,
he wanted to put this on the album, and tell us about it. Let's set it up.
Oh, gosh. Well, we played together some in some restaurants and at the airport, and we played for Unity Church, and he's now a musical director for Unity of the Triangle. And
love to have him in here.
Yeah. You should sometime. And he gave me this chart for several of his tunes. Some of it with my piano playing. I don't know if I'm approximating exactly what he wanted, but some of it works better with band. But anyway, this is one of the tunes that seemed to work well in this setting.
Well, let's hear it. This is Did You.
Did you ever stop to listen to the clouds' lullaby? Look into the wind's fine glass. Did you ever stop to hear the land's soft-spoken cry, or see the lucid heavens come to pass? Did you ever stop to see the camouflage stars by day, or feel them by dusk learning to dance? Did you ever stop to think about extraneous thoughts as the skies reach out and take the universe by chance? So did I. So did I. So did I. So did I. ever try to hold in your hand a piece of time, or grasp forever far away though it may be? Did you ever stop to dream of the color of love? Feel the tacit ballad of the sea? Did you ever stop to ponder as the hills, so perplexed, reach up to kiss the longing silver sky? Did you ever stop to wonder as we try to understand how the chance of love touched you and I? So did I.
Did You? A song originally sung by Tim Smith and played on keys by Chris Keller. And so that was a baby grand that you were using, right?
No, that was electric.
Electric?
Yes.
What?
Yeah,
that sounded like you rolled in a baby grand. Maybe it's just my novice ears, but that sounded like a real 88 keyboard.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow, well, thanks. Scott Pearson did the recording.
Okay.
Jeffrey Scott
so
Pearson.
Maybe that's why it sounds so great.
He's a wizard.
Wizard.
Yeah.
You're listening to WNCU Cares Artist Series with Chris Keller in the seat today, and she is a pianist, a vocalist that plays songs and puts concerts on for peace. And that's something that that you have to do. Well, I say as an artist, you have to do for, the world to change. But I guess you have to change yourself before you change others. So we're listening to music from her albums today. There's something that I just learned. You went to Venezuela.
Yes.
So how's your music tie in?
Yes. I went to Venezuela as a pioneer for the Baha'i faith, for sharing these teachings about unity of all faiths, unity of all peoples, independent investigation of truth, harmony of science and religion, equality of men and women. And these teachings originated in late 19th century in Iran, of all places. So it's very revolutionary. Anyway, so I went there, and I left from Chicago having been like a freelance musician and a street musician and independent artist for about 4 years there, and I thought, well, we'll just see if we can do the same thing, and get into Venezuela.
Right.
So the minute that I got there, we heard about. I flew into Maracaibo, and the Baha'i audiovisual officer told me about a peace festival happening in Merida. So it's like the minute I got there, there were peace festivals, just like a confirmation.
Hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Yeah, confirmation for
sure.
So,
Merida's a lovely little town up in the Andes, and it was a beautiful, beautiful festival. It met people from all over the world who had come to celebrate peace, and it was great, great fun.
It must have been, the energy must have been really, really...
It was tremendous. And I met some of the most amazing folks. There was a lady from Chile who had a children's chorus. They sang only songs about peace from all over Latin America.
Wow.
I'll never forget that experience.
Wow.
So, and that was just a wonderful introduction to that spirit and the spirit of unity in Latin America.
Well, what did you bring musically? Did you play any songs there? I mean,
yes, I did, and I brought some songs that were written, original songs that, and some original songs among the Baha'i community. Some folks that played guitar, and they said, "Do my song." So
nice.
But it was a challenge because I don't think of myself as a singer really. I am a song stylist, and I can carry a tune, but I wasn't born with pipes like a real frontline singer, you know.
But to sing is so harmonic, you know, to sing through the heart. So I think everybody's a singer. We just have different levels of singing ability.
That's right. So anyway, they had me to sing some of these tunes, and it was amazing. They said, well, you're going to be out on a football field and with this little electric piano. And anyway, so I started singing some of these songs. And the minute that the chorus came around the second time, all of these little kids in the crowd sang the chorus. Wow. It was so, oh, man.
Did you get goosebumps?
Oh, I did, and tears. And everything.
I know the power of music.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Well, let's play some more power of music. Now, we're going to play a promo, but when we return, we're going to hear not necessarily the Venezuelan sound, but you said on your album, Love is the Answer, you have rearranged the Triste?
Triste, yeah.
Triste.
And we had pegged it with Smile, so you'll hear one note sung at the beginning.
Sounds good. Let's peg it. Here is the promo, and then also Chris Keller on Triste at 90.7 WNCU.
Smile.
Nice trail at the end. You're listening to 90.7 WNCU member-supported radio, and playing the Carlos Jobim Triste was the sound of Chris Keller on keys or piano, and you also heard alto saxophonist Steve Swan on alto sax. And this is a part of that Venezuelan other type of rhythm that you're bringing to your mix, because you're bringing Latin music, you're bringing, of course, jazz, classical, you're tying it all together, and that was one of the products.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You also studied classical, so that's heavily, I can hear it in your playing. I hear the cross between it, and that's a beautiful thing. So I asked you to dig deep into the archives. I wanted to hear some of your classical music, and so I want our listeners to hear this music as well. And you also have, I guess you have a story where you said you met, you could bridge the gap between classical and jazz world. So tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, this recording that you have, it's an ancient recording from the early 70s. It almost goes back to the hippie days. You know?
Okay. Flower child.
Anyway, I graduated in 73 from Chapel Hill with a piano degree, a bachelor's in piano. And about 5 years out of that formalized training, I suddenly realized I want to be playing jazz. You know, that's what I really want to do. Mm-hmm. I had tried to double major in piano and composition over at Chapel Hill, but the second semester I was there, they doubled the out-of-state tuition, so I couldn't, and I was on a limited, so I had to do everything in 3 years, and it forced me to choose between one or the other. But anyway, about 5 years out of Chapel Hill, I was living in Raleigh, and I met a guy who was artist in residence at NC State for that year. His name is Jim Milne, and exceptional jazz pianist, and wonderful composer. I heard him coaching a combo, and I was hanging out at the door, and he says, come on in, what do you play? And he sat me down at the piano. And it was so much fun. And he said afterwards, well, why don't you come and study with me a little? And studying with him was it was wonderful, because he very intelligently bridged the gap with, what I understood of the classical theory and sound and everything.
Yes.
Over to jazz by using the real book. He said he had to go to buy a copy out of the back of a van with the guy. It was way back in those days.
Way back in the day.
I'm showing my age here. But anyway, so he brought me this book, and he said, you're already playing out in restaurants and stuff. Why don't you just take this, learn on the job?
Yes.
He says. And it was a wonderful experience studying with him. I only was in like 3 months before he went off to Greenland. He went there as a Baha'i pioneer. And it was through him and some writings in his office that I first heard about the Baha'i faith.
Okay.
He was really encouraging of my getting out and playing jazz, and he said there need to be more women out there playing jazz.
Agreed.
Yes. So, but it was a wonderful experience, and I really, really treasure his influence. And
wow.
So he gave me a lot of material, and he said, go learn by doing.
Good.
So
that means a lot of transcriptions.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of listening.
A lot of listening.
A lot of transcriptions, and a lot of just jumping in and flip flop fly. kind of thing.
Wow. Well, you have to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
But before you jumped into the jazz, I wanted to let us hear the world of classical which you brought. And so I have that playing underneath, and I want us to hear Prelude and Allegro, just a snippet of it. I think they should hear you on the other side. So here we are.
This is the original.
Okay. Here we go. 90.7 WNCU, member supported radio. And ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to WNCU Cares Artist Series. And we're highlighting local artists in the area. Not only are the local artists jazz musicians, but they are trained in classical music. They're trained in other areas and genres. And I love to highlight my community. You know, it makes sense. And so this song that you composed, I thought, we were listening to a song that you read and you spent hours practicing. I'm certain you did that with this song, but this is your own composition.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Wow. So I heard like minimalistic, but what were the influences for this composition?
Oh gosh. Well, I always, ever since like high school, I always loved the music of Bela Bartok. And I loved the early 20th century classical piano concertos and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The Prokofiev and the Bartok Second Concerto. I love that. This was about, I think I was about 18 or 19 when
wow.
It was umpteen million years ago.
Half
a century ago.
Age is nothing but a number. That's
half a century ago.
What, half a century ago? So how long did it take you to write this song?
Oh gosh.
I can't call it a song. It's a work.
Yeah, it's a work,
piece.
like a little mini concerto thing. First movement of a three-part work. I can't remember that, actually. I think it was a couple of semesters.
Okay. Spend some time
to get it all together and get all the string parts and everything.
Yeah.
And the rehearsals and Took a while.
Taking a while, and it takes a while for this music to really evolve into something substantial, and you've done that. So let's get into the mainstream jazz that we're in here for. You have a song that you did. It was a Cole Porter tune. What is this thing called Love? And it's off of your album, Love. What's the name of your album? Your name of the album is Love is the Answer, which is the truth. We're going to listen to What is this thing called Love after the short pause. You're listening to WNCU Cares Artist Series with Chris Keller, local artist in the Raleigh area, but travels to perform for the message of peace, bringing that peace into the world. So let's listen to this PSA, and then we'll be back in with What is this thing called Love at member-supported radio, 90.7 WNCU. WNCU Cares Artist Series at 90.7 WNCU. You're in for a treat today. This is the WNCU Cares Artist Series with Chris Keller in the seat, and she is playing jazz, you all. That was a Cole Porter, What Is This Thing Called Love? And you heard on tenor saxophone, Whit Williams, sounding like Train. And you heard on alto saxophone, Steve Swan. Also, Donnie West on bass, Ricky Loza on drums, and Chris Keller. And she's a arranger for that composition as well. Thank you for bringing that to the world. What is this thing called love? What is it? Mm-hmm. So we're making our way to the top of the set. You're listening to the WNCU Cares Artist Series, and we have more stories to share with you in the next hour, so make certain you stay connected with us here at 90.7 WNCU. And to lead us to the top of the set, we're going to lead with one of Chris's influences, and that guy, the man, the giant, Oscar Peterson, is going to play Caravan for you. So let's get to the top of the set, come back to the next hour of WNCU Cares Artist Series with Chris Keller at member-supported radio 90.7 WNCU. 90.7 WNCU. I know most of you are probably thinking, oh my goodness, we've turned to a classical station. Not true at all. This is WNCU Cares Artist Series, where we do mix classical with the jazz to create this element that we know is jazz, which that word needs to change somehow. But you're listening to WNCU Cares Artist Series with Chris Keller, and she was performing what you just heard, a Maurice Ravel work on Dean, and that's from the suite. And you said the suite was
Gaspard de la Nuit, which means spirits of the night.
Can you tell us about the story?
Well, this is a 3-part work that each part is based on a poem about sort of a phantom type being. And Ondine was a water sprite that had the misfortune to keep falling in love with mortal men, and every time she would take them home to meet Papa, they would drown.
I wonder why.
And so, but she learned, after a while, and it was like, it's a sort of a sorrowful, mournful thing in here that she's realizing that it's always going to be unrequited love. So you hear a lot of the kind of like ocean sounds and the play of waves and everything in this song. And the score even looks like that. When you look at the Ravel score, it's just waves of notes, with the phrase lines over them. It looks like
I'm certain
a painting of an ocean.
Oh my goodness. What was the metronome at 2?
I don't remember. But it took me a long time to learn this piece, 2 years of study, actually. And that was from a senior recital way back in 1973.
Wow. Well, you can tell that music is timeless because it didn't sound dated. Wow.
It was a good recording. They got a really good recording from there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move on to some. Did you want to add more to?
Yes. Something I wanted to share with you.
I love it.
That Dizzy said, Dizzy Gillespie, said jazz is a marriage between African rhythm and European harmony. And it was like an organic breakthrough in music. His Afro-Cuban thing, too, was a real, like a breakthrough in world music.
Agreed.
Very deep level.
Agreed. I mean, that's where we're combining these elements to create this music that we've cherished. And a lot of my colleagues and peers told me how to study, and they've showed me how to study, and I've showed them how to study. And, you have to keep the tradition alive.
Yeah.
And you're doing that through your music. And another tradition that you've kept alive is playing the greats. So this is from another American songbook from your album entitled Flight with Tim Smith and Chris Keller and some other artists. But this is Skylark. So this is a ballad. I assume that it's played as a ballad, yes? Yes. All right. So let's take a listen to Skylark at Member Supported Radio 90.7 WNCU.
Oh, Skylark, have you anything to say to me? Can you tell me where my love can be? Is there a meadow in the mist where someone's waiting to be kissed? Oh, Skylark, have you seen the valley green with spring, where my heart can go on journeying over the shadows and the rain to a blossom-covered lane? And in your lonely flight, haven't you heard the music in the night? Beautiful music, faint as a will-o'-the-wisp, crazy as a loon, sad as a gypsy, serenading the moon. Oh, Skylark, I don't know if you can find these things, but my heart is riding on your wings. So if you see them anywhere, won't you take me there?
The moving sounds of Chris Keller and Tim Smith on Johnny Mercer's Skylark. That's a beautiful tune.
Oh, it is. It's a classic.
I like how he's playing around with his registers, and you're all over the keyboard. Wow.
Yeah.
Sounded good.
We had so much fun
I
putting
always
that
say
together.
that. You said it had so much fun. How many takes? Was that like one cut? Or you just went on
don't
back?
know. I can't remember,
Yeah.
really.
That's the beautiful thing about jazz, though. You know, or just improvising.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep on going
Yeah.
until you get the job done, right?
Right.
Or it feels
exactly.
good, I guess.
Uh-huh.
So that was like the softer side of Chris Keller. So we're going to turn up a little bit with her song. Well, it's not her song, but Groovin' High. Turn up the pace a little bit. We're going to go from there. Unless you want to add to this song and then possibly a reason why you wanted to place this on the album Flight.
Oh, well, it's this one is on the Love is the Answer. Yeah.
Well, it sure is.
Yeah.
Actually, okay, cool.
And
Sounds good.
I've always loved this tune. It's just, it has such an uplifting nature to it. I heard an interview recently with Mike Longo, Dizzy's piano player for many decades. Mm-hmm. And Mike said that Diz often talked about hearing the divinity in the music, the divine spirit, hearing the bliss behind the conscious mind in the music was really important. And that kind of reminds me of this thing here that Beethoven said. I wanted to read.
Go ahead.
Every real creation of art is independent, more powerful than the artist himself, and returns to the divine through its manifestation. It is one with man only in this, that it bears testimony to the mediation of the divine in him. Talking about music as a gift from God.
You know, that reminds me, like, is there any way that before you have your concerts that you say any type of text to get people into the Vesper mood of...
well, we often do at the peace concerts. In fact, that's an integral part of it, is having various quotations about peace from various authors all over the globe. And we share them, and then along with the tunes, we try to coordinate so that the meaning ties together. And it's a wonderful effect because the music gives you more time to think about the reading, and it all works at a very deep level. And afterward, we often ask people to participate by, say, for instance, a writing exercise. Write something that we all have in common, and then write something that we don't need in the world anymore, and then write something that we do need more of, and what we can do to help make a better world.
Wow. So combining the text.
And we did that at the Kennedy Center when we put our
programs really?
There. Yeah.
So that was the audience was there, and then you said your text, and then you got into the music, and then at the end you passed out paper, pen, and then had them write there.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Kennedy Center is pretty large place to fill.
Well, we opened the Millennium Stage. Actually, we were artists in residence there for the month of May '97, and the Millennium Stage is in the foyer area, and it was started because there was from the community, a lot of folks were saying that they wanted to come and hear the programs, but they couldn't afford to come.
Oh, okay.
So this was kind of like a community outreach to open this Millennium Stage.
How much are the tickets if they couldn't? Okay.
Oh, no, there's the tickets to the other programs are expensive for some folks, but this is a early evening kind of a pre-concert concert. And I believe they had them on Fridays. So we got to open that stage in May. With the Jazz for World Unity programs with Aurora Jazz.
You have your hands in a lot. I don't know. Did I ever ask you why you named your group Aurora Jazz?
Well, the Aurora means it was a name for the goddess of the dawn. It's just for the dawn of a new day. You seem very spiritually in tune with the music, and you allowed, I guess, to be a conduit for this great vibratory frequency, if you will. Well, that's what I aim to do.
Well, let's aim to do that again. Here's Groovin' High, getting to another side of Chris Keller. You're listening to member-supported radio 90.7 WNCU. This is the WNCU Cares Artist Series with Chris Keller. 90.7 WNCU Cares Artist Series with Chris Keller in the studio. Glad she's here sharing some really, really great stories that I hope that you get to hear today. And you just heard her and her Aurora Jazz Ensemble on Groovin' High. Dizzy Gillespie song. I always thought it was Parker, but it was Dizzy Gillespie's tune. Yeah.
That, of course, they invented bebop together.
Man, didn't they ever? Goodness, and that's why jazz is still alive, and so
and always will be.
Always will be.
That's right.
So, what gets you moving, and playing and keeping jazz alive and keeping music alive?
Well, for me, music is an expression of love, and love holds the universe together, and never dies. And so, I just hear that so much in the music, in jazz, and all music, from all cultures, really, but especially in jazz. I remember as a little tiny kid, just loving this and thinking it was the most beautiful music I'd ever heard. So. Anyway, I wanted to mention something that happened back in 1983.
Okay.
There was an appeal from the International Baha'i Center in Israel, from the Universal House of Justice, asking for musicians to travel to South America and share the message of peace and unity.
Yes.
Through music, and. I was able to go to an international musicians conference in San Juan, Costa Rica, and we played a big concert there, and that was a beginning. And I met some folks there that served on the House of Justice, and told them about wanting to go to South America, but I didn't. I was just working as a street musician at the time, and actually had to sell one of my keyboards to get back into the country because I forgot about the taxes.
Oh, man.
Anyway, so coming
back to Chicago. The life of a musician.
Yeah, no kidding. It's never boring. So coming back into Chicago, I thought, well, if I can't yet go to South America, let's do something here in Chicago.
Okay.
So we put together a program called Artists for One World.
Yes.
And that was in 1986. That was a weekend combination of all arts, performing and poetry, and we had several different peace groups with their tables, information all around, and that was 2 days of continuous performance. We had every kind of. We had comedians, we had tap dancers, we had so, and a lot of these folks I had met from just playing in the subway.
And so all of you are in a group. You formed this group, and everybody just had a different skill, brought it to the table.
Artists for One World, And so then after that, I had heard that there was the Office of Pioneering at the Baha'i National Center was looking for folks to go to Venezuela. And I had always been kind of intrigued with Brazil, and Venezuela is kind of like on the way to Brazil. But so I applied to go as a pioneer, which is where you support yourself, doing, and so I went and just freelanced in Venezuela like I had done before in Chicago.
So you made the big bucks?
No, no, I didn't. But I survived.
Okay.
I found a way. It was a huge challenge because I had to learn the language. And it took me about a couple of years to really start thinking in the language.
Okay.
I was forgetting English words and getting kind of mute for a while because I was thinking that in Spanish.
Oh, my goodness.
But we did some concerts in Venezuela, in Caracas. In fact, and the way this came about was I asked the office of in Caracas, the metro was designed by a French company, and they had an office of cultural affairs in the actual metro station. And I asked them about possibility of playing, like I did in the subways in Chicago, just playing. And they said, "Oh, we have an amphitheater."
Oh, wow!
And then I thought, "Wow, let's do a peace concert." So
wow! So you saw the evolution. You were right there with it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so with the concert, we had like a 9-piece band, and we had players from Russia, from Peru, Cuba, Canada, Venezuela, just from all over.
I just imagine how that would sound. I
Yeah,
wish we
it
had a
was-
recording. Oh my goodness.
I had a recording, but
Had.
unfortunately it was on
Yeah.
cassette.
Okay.
And I
Archive.
wasn't sure that I
Yeah.
had a high-quality cassette there. You
Yeah.
have to be careful because sometimes you get knockoffs.
Understood. Yes.
But, and it didn't survive
Didn't.
these decades.
Well,
afterward.
I guess we got to, get on the call and reach out to some people from different nationalities so we can
Yeah.
make something, recreate what you did.
Yeah.
in
And then we
Venezuela.
also did this with Aurora Jazz. We did a Jazz for World Unity program at the Kennedy Center at the Millennium Stage.
Yeah, yeah.
We were artists in residence there from May of '97 and helped open the stage for the public.
Congratulations.
So
And you're
it
still
was-
doing that. Well, what are you doing now? In terms of keeping alive in the music world as
Oh wow!
the world shifts.
Wow. Well, one thing I really have to do. I was able to hang on to a little bit of the stuff I do, and by Zoom.
Okay.
But I need to learn how to do digital performances better. I need to learn more about that.
Set up your phone, put on live, and play. And then put up your Cash App. You have to put up Cash App. You have to put up Vimeo. You have to put up those things that
Okay.
people might want to tip. You never know. People are so moved sometimes by this music, especially
Yeah.
during this time. That's why I'm happy
Yeah.
that we get to share light on artists in the community, because so many artists such as yourself, we're going through this together.
Mhm.
So you may as well spread the love.
Yeah, that's right.
Other
That's
things are spreading. So now we're going to get into a promo, and we're going to listen to the next song for My Father, a Horace Silver original played by Chris Keller and others in her ensemble. And this is off of her album, Love is the Answer. And we know this, and hopefully you'll understand more about this love being an answer by the end of this show. So let's get with this promo, and you're listening to WNCU Cares Artist Series. honoring her craft and the craft of jazz is Chris Keller, a member supported radio 90.7 WNCU. And she was on Song for My Father, a Horace Silver original. And on alto saxophone, taking the lead was Steve Swan. We've been listening to WNCU Cares Artist Series. Chris Keller has been sharing stories on and off the air. But if you love hearing what you've heard today, you can definitely follow her on Facebook. She's on there as Chris Keller. That's Christine Keller. Thank you. Christine Keller, Keller. And she's also on ReverbNation.com/Chris Keller, Aurora Jazz. So these are ways to get in contact with her. She's going to be posting lives soon, and maybe I'll appear on there. We can work on some songs and get on live together. That'd be fun. But she's been around the world. She's performed in Venezuela. She's performed in D.C., been asked to perform at various places. Has been a street musician. Have you ever taught in the classroom?
I've taught... a little bit, but I've taught mainly as, private lessons.
Okay. So are you currently teaching private lessons?
I need to figure out digitally how to work that.
It's a cinch. I'll tell you. No, it's not a challenge. You can do it. You can do it. I know you can. Well, we want to, of course, I want to thank you again for being a part of this experience.
Thank you so much.
I hope you've eased into this moment in time.
Yeah, I've had a wonderful time.
Yay. I still want to play some of your influences, but there's another song that you have sung on, What a Wonderful World. I think you're singing on that one. You're also playing. Thank you so much for staying true to the art form. It really matters. We often say jazz is alive. We keep jazz alive. Well, this is the fruit of the labor, you all. She's keeping jazz alive through her music. So one of your influences is Thelonious Monk, but before we get to that, let's play What a Wonderful World with your rendition of the Louis Armstrong made famous song, What a Wonderful World, at member-supported radio, 90.7 WNCU. And I think I do want to let's play Round Midnight first, and let's go into What a Wonderful World. I think we'll do that. This is 90.7. Thelonious Monk, Round Midnight, and he took his time on that tune, and I find that you take your time on your music as well, so I can hear the influence of Thelonious Monk in your playing.
Well, that particular tune is one of the earliest ones I remember hearing as a very young child.
So it was on a song that was on repeat?
Yeah, well, and I just was so taken with it, just the uniqueness of his sound.
Oh, yes.
And it's just a beautiful tune. Yeah. I tell you, Monk's compositions, they are so solid that you can play anything over them and it works. Yeah. But the quality of his compositions is just so amazing.
And he plays a lot with the whole tone scale.
Yeah.
And I was mentioning earlier that, you have to be tasteful as an artist to not play it so much. And he does that effortlessly.
Yes.
Wow. Well, thank you again. Thank you once more for being here, sharing your words, and sharing your love for music and creating peace, more peace in the world. Will you leave us with a quote?
I wanted to read this little quote from the back of our album, Love is the Answer. Mm-hmm. This is from the Baha'i writings. The love of God is the origin of all love in the world of creation. This is the reality of love, the ancient love, the eternal love. Through one ray of this love, all love exists.
Thank you. Yeah. Chris Keller, everyone, in the station. She's signing off. We're signing off with WNCU Cares Artist Series. Tune in next week. I have Ingrid Nora Knight in the station, piano player, composer as well. So we're rolling strong here. Tune in again and stay tuned actually for DL to follow this show at 3 p.m. Some great straight ahead jazz for you. Up now is Chris Keller leaving with What a Wonderful World at member-supported radio, 90.7 WNCU. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
The bright, blessed day and the dark, sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Think to myself, what a wonder